Just a few days ago, these two were at each other's throats, dragging each other through the mud on national television. What changed? Why did Rasheeda suddenly have a change of heart? And most importantly, is this apology even genuine? Or is there something much deeper going on behind the scenes? Finally, after weeks of tension, explosive fights, and backstabbing drama, Rasheeda did something that no one saw coming. She publicly apologized to Yandy. According to insiders, Rasheeda was receiving harsh criticism behind closed doors from both her inner circle and fans. Some even alleged that she was coerced into issuing an apology. Others believe she's merely trying to save face before things spiral even further out of control. But one thing is clear, this isn't just a simple "I'm sorry." This is a messy, complicated love and hip-hop saga where secrets are being exposed, relationships are being tested, and Yandy might not be as forgiving as Rasheeda hopes. Let's break down exactly what went down, why Rasheeda is suddenly backtracking, and whether Yandy is truly buying this so-called apology. Yandy paced her living room, scrolling through her phone, heart pounding. Notifications flooded her screen. Instagram comments, DMs, tweets, everyone was talking about her and Rasheeda. Fans had taken sides, gossip blogs were eating it up, and the drama had reached an uncontrollable level. The internet was in shambles. As she reread one of the headlines, Yandy clenched her jaw. The fight had escalated beyond anything she could have imagined. Would she and Rasheeda ever mend their friendship after this explosive love and hip-hop showdown? She let out a bitter laugh. It seemed unlikely. The drama had started over something minor, what should have been a quick argument, but before Yandy could even process it, Rasheeda had lost control. The last thing Yandy expected was for everything to blow up like this. The world was watching, waiting for one of them to make a move. She sank into the couch, gripping her phone, scrolling through the flood of messages. The cameras had caught everything, the slap, the screaming, the exact moment when years of friendship shattered. Some messages were supportive. Rasheeda was completely out of line. She's always been jealous. Yandy, you don't deserve this. You don't need that negativity in your life. But others were ruthless. Yandy is messy. She plays the victim, but we all know how she moves behind the scenes. Yandy gritted her teeth. People thought they knew everything, but they didn't. They saw the explosion, but not the cause. She tossed her phone onto the table and sighed in frustration. Meanwhile, across town, Rasheeda sat in her bedroom, staring at her phone, fingers hovering over the screen. For the first time since the fight, she felt something she never expected: regret. At first, she told herself that Yandy had it coming, that someone needed to put her in her place. But as the hours passed and the dust settled, Rasheeda started seeing things differently. The video clips were everywhere, playing in slow motion, analyzed from every angle, and the internet had turned against her overnight. She picked up her phone again, opened Instagram, and stared at her latest post, thousands of comments flooding in nonstop. Now the question remains, is Rasheeda's apology real? Or is she just trying to save herself? And more importantly, will Yandy ever forgive her? Just a few days ago, these two were at each other's throats, dragging each other through the mud on national television. What changed? Why did Rasheeda suddenly have a change of heart? And most importantly, is this apology even genuine, or is there something much deeper going on behind the scenes? Finally, after weeks of tension, explosive fights, and backstabbing drama, Rasheeda did something that no one saw coming. She publicly apologized to Yandy. According to insiders, Rasheeda was receiving harsh criticism behind closed doors from both her inner circle and fans. Some even alleged that she was coerced into issuing an apology. Others think she's merely attempting to make a statement before things get even more out of hand. But there's little doubt that this isn't a straightforward "I apologize." This is one complicated love and hip-hop situation where secrets are being revealed, relationships are being challenged, and Yandy may not be as forgiving as Rasheeda hopes. Let's examine the specifics of what transpired, why Rasheeda is abruptly reversing course, and whether Yandy is truly buying this purported apology. Yandy paced the living room, scrolling through her phone while her heart raced. Infinite notifications filled the screen, comments on Instagram, DMs, and tweets about her and Rasheeda. Fans had taken sides, gossip blogs were consuming it, and the drama had spiraled out of control. The internet was in ruins. As she read one of the headlines again, Yandy tightened her jaw, realizing that the fight had been worse than anyone could have expected. Will Yandy and Rasheeda ever repair their friendship after their explosive love and hip-hop clash? She laughed bitterly. It didn't seem likely. The dispute had started over something small that should have been a brief back and forth, but Rasheeda had lost her temper before Yandy could even process what was happening. This was the last thing she had anticipated. The world was watching, waiting for one of them to make a move. She fell onto the couch, clutching her phone as she combed through the deluge of texts. The cameras had caught everything: the slap, the shouting, years of friendship crumbling in real time. Some messages were supportive. Rasheeda was completely out of line and has always been envious. "Yandy, you don't deserve this." But others were cruel. Yandy's messiness was inevitable. She plays the victim, but we all know what she's really like behind the scenes. Across town, Rasheeda sat in her bedroom, staring at her own phone, fingers hovering over the screen. She had seen the backlash and how the internet had turned against her overnight. Regret? At first, she told herself that Yandy had it coming, that someone needed to put her in her place. But as the hours passed and the dust settled, Rasheeda started seeing things differently. The video clips were everywhere, slowed down, analyzed from every angle. She picked up her phone again and opened Instagram, where thousands of comments flooded her most recent post. "Fix it, Rasheeda. You're better than this. I lost respect for you after that. Yandy didn't deserve that." She scrolled through more messages, the words hitting her harder than she expected. A few days prior, Rasheeda and Yandy had been laughing together, sharing their problems. Now she was alone, throwing her phone on the bed and staring at the ceiling, memories of their early days flashing through her mind. They were like sisters once. Now, they were enemies, and it had all gone too far. It had started at a love and hip-hop event where the tension between Yandy and Rasheeda was evident. The cameras were rolling, the drinks were flowing, and they were maintaining friendly smiles while the cameras were on. But behind the scenes, a different story. Someone casually brought up a lost business deal. That was all it took. Rasheeda forced a smile, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, you should ask Yandy. She clearly makes all the decisions." Yandy's smile froze. She knew that tone too well. "What's that supposed to mean?" she asked, keeping her voice even. Rasheeda leaned back in her seat. The room grew silent as all eyes turned to them. "I mean, since you're making moves behind my back, maybe you should be the one explaining things." Yandy let out a dry chuckle. "It was a business decision that had to be made. I didn't mean to go behind your back." Rasheeda's voice cut through. "You always do this." Yandy rolled her eyes, but that only made it worse. Rasheeda's chair scraped against the floor as she stood, towering over Yandy. "You don't respect me. You never have." Yandy stood too, her eyes blazing. "You're not going to sit here and act like I don't respect you." The argument escalated. Voices rose, hands flew, and then a collective gasp. Yandy staggered back, her hand flying to her cheek. Rasheeda had slapped her. The cameras caught everything. Security rushed in, pulling them apart, but the damage was done. Yandy's voice was deadly calm as she said, "You just ended our friendship." Then she turned and left. Now in the present, Yandy sat with her head in her hands, reliving the incident 1,000 times over. She had never imagined Rasheeda would take it that far. And now that she was the one carrying the weight of it all, she picked up her phone again, fingers hovering over Rasheeda's contact. Taking a deep breath, she typed, "Rasheeda, we need to talk." A few seconds later, the typing bubble appeared. Rasheeda was responding. For the first time since the fight, Yandy felt something unexpected: uncertainty. She had told herself she didn't care, that Rasheeda's apology, if it ever came, wouldn't mean anything. But now that it was public, raw, and emotional, she didn't know what to feel. Her phone buzzed again. "Rasheeda." "Yandy, please. Let's meet. Just the two of us. No drama, no cameras. Let's have a real conversation." Yandy stared at the message, her heart pounding. A part of her wanted to ignore it, to keep her defenses up. But another part of her wasn't so sure. After a long pause, she finally typed, "Yandy, fine. Tomorrow, 3:00 p.m. my place." The following afternoon, Rasheeda pulled up to Yandy's house. She hadn't seen Yandy since the fight, not in person, at least, and the nerves were killing her. A part of her still held on to the years of friendship, the laughter, and the late-night talks. She wanted to see if there was anything left to salvage. Fragments of reaction videos played in her mind. Everyone had an opinion, and most of them weren't in her favor. But that didn't matter more than fixing things with Yandy. She took a deep breath and knocked on the door. Silence, then footsteps. The door swung open, and Yandy stood there, arms crossed, expression unreadable. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Yandy stepped aside. "Come in." Rasheeda swallowed hard and stepped inside. The living room was spotless, but the air was thick with tension. Yandy motioned for Rasheeda to sit while she remained standing, arms still crossed, those piercing eyes locked onto her. Finally, in a voice as cold as ice, Yandy said, "You wanted to talk." Rasheeda nodded, inhaling deeply. "Yandy," she hesitated, then forced herself to push forward. "I made a mistake. I let my emotions control me, and I did something I can't take back. I'm not proud of it." Yandy's face remained unreadable. "Are you sorry because you got dragged online? Because the fans turned on you? Or do you actually feel bad?" Rasheeda swallowed hard. She deserved that. "I deserve that," she admitted. "And to be honest, if I were in your position, I'd be asking the same thing. But this isn't about the internet or damage control. This is about us." She leaned forward, her voice softer now. "I miss my friend." For the briefest second, Yandy's expression flickered, but she caught herself. Finally, she sat down across from Rasheeda. Her voice was calm but firm. "This isn't the first time you've let your anger get in the way, Rasheeda. I don't know if I can keep doing this. Every time we fight, it gets worse. And this time, you put your hands on me." Rasheeda winced. "I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. I don't even know if you ever will. But I needed you to know I'm sorry. For everything. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the kind of friend who hurts the people I care about." Yandy studied her closely, then sighed, leaning back against the couch. "I don't know if things can ever go back to the way they were, but I appreciate the apology." Relief washed over Rasheeda. It wasn't a full reconciliation, not yet, but it was a start, and sometimes that was enough. Silence settled between them, stretching longer than either of them expected. Unspoken emotions still lingered in the air, too heavy to ignore. Rasheeda shifted, clasping her hands in her lap, nails digging into her palms. She had known this wouldn't be easy. She had known an apology wouldn't magically erase everything. But hearing Yandy say that things might never be the same still stung. Yandy let out a slow breath, arms still folded. "So, what now?" Yandy raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" she asked. Rasheeda swallowed hard. "I mean, I don't want to lose you." Yandy exhaled sharply. "You came here to apologize, and I hear you, but an apology doesn't fix everything. This isn't just about what happened that night. It's about everything you said, how you tried to turn people against me, and how you made me look like the villain in all of this." Rasheeda licked her lips, but before she could speak, Yandy held up a hand. "Let me finish." Although her tone wasn't harsh, it was firm. "After everything, I took a step back and really started seeing things for what they were. The slap was just the breaking point, but the cracks started forming long before that. The arguments, the jealousy, the competition. And now, I don't know if I can trust you." Rasheeda felt like the air had been knocked out of her lungs. She had known this wouldn't be easy, but hearing Yandy say it out loud made it real in a way she hadn't been prepared for. She cleared her throat quickly, her voice trembling. "I need you to know that I'm sorry. Not because of the cameras or what people are saying online, but because I hate that I hurt you. I hate that I let our friendship get to this point." Yandy studied her intently, her expression unreadable. Rasheeda's voice dropped, small but honest. "I know I messed up. I know I can't just say sorry and expect things to magically be okay. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things better." For the first time since Rasheeda arrived, Yandy's expression softened, just a little. "I need time," she admitted, "but I want to believe you." Rasheeda nodded, her throat tightening. "I understand." They sat in silence, the weight of everything between them pressing down. Then, unexpectedly, Yandy reached out, placing a hesitant hand over Rasheeda's. "Thank you for coming here," she said quietly. Rasheeda smiled shakily. "I meant every word." Yandy nodded, exhaling slowly. "I think we both need time to process everything, but maybe we can start small." Rasheeda's eyes widened slightly. Yandy offered a faint smile. "No promises, but maybe we can see where things go from here." It wasn't a perfect resolution, but maybe it was the start of something new.